Another great weekend of sports. We had championship weekend. We had the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, and UFC Freedom 250. The Knicks finally winning their first championship in 53 years, ladies and gentlemen. So we got to talk about that a little bit. The Stanley Cup Finals, we're going to start off with that. The Carolina Hurricanes, their first championship in 20 years. Dominant performance in that Game 6. Shutout victory against the Vegas Golden Knights. Congrats to the Hurricanes. And then UFC Freedom 250. Justin Gaethje finally becomes the undisputed lightweight champion. So welcome back to Guys Time, ladies and gentlemen. Zach Bryce. The Bryce is here. I'm all decked out in my Lions uniform. I'm ready for football. But we got to talk about these Stanley Cup Finals. So these Stanley Cup Finals, I've said it numerous times here on Guys Time, in my videos, on Instagram. The best Stanley Cup Finals I've ever watched in my entire life. I mean, from the get-go, that game 1, 5-4 victory for the Vegas Golden Knights. It was an absolute slugfest. It was a back-and-forth battle. It was entertaining. It was fun. Lots of scoring. That's what you want for these Stanley Cup Finals. But ultimately, the Hurricanes won in 6 games, winning their second championship in franchise history, their first since 2006. Shutout victory, 3-0. I mean, great performance by the Hurricanes. But we got to talk about Jordan Staal here a little bit. So he's the oldest Conn Smythe Trophy winner. 37 years old, MVP of the Stanley Cup playoffs. He had 5 straight goals in 5 games. At 37 years old, being that productive, yeah, I think that's worthy enough to win the Conn Smythe. So you had that going on. It was his first Stanley Cup that he won in 17 years. Guys, the last time he won a Stanley Cup was with the 2009 Pittsburgh Penguins when they defeated my Detroit Red Wings in that epic rematch. Went all the way to Game 7. Detroit couldn't win. Penguins' turn this time. Obviously, 2008, the Red Wings beat the Penguins. So the Penguins got their revenge. So Jordan Staal was part of that 2009 team, and he won his first Stanley Cup. But now, 17 years later, he won one as the captain of the Carolina Hurricanes. So congrats to him. Not only is he the Conn Smythe Trophy winner, but he's also a Stanley Cup champion. So good for him. Coach Rod Brind'Amour. He is the 4th guy to win the Stanley Cup as the captain of the team and as a head coach. And good for him. He was the captain of that 2006 team that won the Stanley Cup against the Edmonton Oilers. And he's been the coach there in Carolina for 8 years. And every single year they've made it to the playoffs. And it just seems like they can never get past the conference finals. Usually it was against the Boston Bruins or it was against the Florida Panthers. But finally this year they got over the hump and they won the big one. They won the Stanley Cup after 8 years being the head coach. Good for Coach Rod Brind'Amour. Like I said, now he can brag that he won the Stanley Cup as a player and as a coach. A head coach, rather. And he's only the 4th person to do that. Win as a captain, win as a head coach. So, yeah, it's about time, right? You know, Carolina always makes it to the playoffs. Eight straight years. Much more I can say about the Red Wings. We haven't seen the playoffs in 10 years. But the Carolina Hurricanes, great regular season play every single year. Good enough to make it to the playoffs. And like I said, they just got stumped by the Florida Panthers for a couple years there, by the Boston Bruins a couple times. But they finally got over the hump, and they were just like, we're winning this one this year. And they did. In great fashion, like I said earlier, 3-0 victory for the Hurricanes. And I've said it before, this is without question the best Stanley Cup Finals ever I've ever watched. It's the best one. I mean, Game 1 set the tone. Game 2 was amazing. Game 3 was wild. Game 4 was good. And then Game 5 and 6 pretty much dominated by the Carolina Hurricanes. But yeah, the Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final set the tone for the rest of the Stanley Cup. So yeah, we got to go through these games real quick. So Game 1, 5-4 shootout victory, or 5-4 slugfest victory for the Vegas Golden Knights. Back and forth matchup. Vegas would have the lead, and then here comes the Carolina Hurricanes. We're not done yet. They would have the lead. Oh, Vegas, you forgot about us, right? And then it was just a back and forth matchup. 5-4 victory for Vegas, for the Vegas Golden Knights in that Game 1. Then we got to fast forward to Game 2, our first overtime game of the Stanley Cup Finals. 4-3 victory for the Carolina Hurricanes this time. So that was a good victory there. And then Game 3, Vegas is up 4-0 heading into the third period. The Hurricanes decide to pull Frederick Anderson, or Freddie Anderson, as he's been called by Carolina Hurricanes fans. I mean, that guy was dominant the entire playoffs. Great goaltending. I mean, he was great. But then, he struggled a little bit in the first couple games of the Stanley Cup Finals. So Coach Rod Brind'Amour decides to pull him out, put in Brandon Bussi, the backup. And the first 16 to 17 shots he faced, saved. He saved them all, man. I mean, that's how you step up. And then also in that third period, Carolina Hurricanes scored 3 goals in 39 seconds. The fastest in Stanley Cup Finals history. I mean, how's that even possible? 3 goals in 39 seconds in the third period when you're down 4-0. Crazy, right? I mean, unbelievable. And then they get another one late in the game to force 1 overtime. But let me tell you something. First overtime wasn't enough. We had to go to 2 overtimes. And Vegas finally won 5-4. But I've said it numerous times here on Guys Time. I've said it in my videos. That game 3 changed Vegas. And not in a good way. It changed them. They were gassed. They were exhausted. They barely won that game. But then you go into game 4, 5, and 6. You're not seeing the same Vegas Golden Knights team that we've seen the entire playoff run. These entire playoffs and the first 2-3 games. Game 4, 5, and 6. It was like Carolina was playing a completely different team. They weren't playing the Vegas Golden Knights. They were playing someone else, and you saw it. The players were exhausted. They couldn't get shots. Star players like Jack Eichel and Mitch Marner. Where were they? The goal scorers. Where they didn't show up in those games. Carolina had their number, man. Carolina, that game 3, they lost, but that 4-goal deficit, and they came back and forced 1 overtime, and then that wasn't enough. They went to double overtime. That exhausted Vegas, and it gave Carolina strength. It gave them hope. It gave them motivation. Because like I said, game 4, 5, and 6, I mean, Carolina dominated all those games as well. But yeah, game 3, the best game of the Stanley Cup Finals without question. And we look back and people will ask, how did Carolina win, or why did Carolina win? Just look at that game 3. And pretty much will tell the whole story right there. So you had that great game, best game of the series, but then game 4, 5, and 6 completely dominated by the Carolina Hurricanes. Hurricanes won 5-3 in game 4, and then they win 4-2 in game 5, and then obviously the shutout victory to win the Stanley Cup in game 6, 3-0 on the road too in Vegas. But yeah, Brandon Bussi, we got to talk about him for a little bit. Back up to Freddie Anderson. Didn't see any playoff time. This was his first time in the playoffs. Down 4 goals in the third period when you're facing a 2-1 deficit against the Vegas Golden Knights. He comes in and it's like boom, boom, boom. He's saving everything. It's like he's been there before. I mean, it was a great performance. And then games 4, 5, and 6, undefeated. He won all 3 of those games. Maybe he should have won the Conn Smythe Trophy. But I think the NHL got it right with Jordan Staal. But great performance by Brandon Bussi. And with these Stanley Cup Finals, one key to success, a major part of success in the Stanley Cup Finals. You have to have great goaltending. Carolina, for the most part, had great goaltending. Vegas, for the most part. Games 4, 5, and 6, not really. But they had great goaltending. Goaltending is important, man. A lot of people don't understand it. You have to have a great goalie. You got to have good goaltending in these Stanley Cup playoffs. Carolina had that. And you saw with Brandon Bussi, even with Freddie Anderson. When the playoffs started, the guy was phenomenal. Definitely the best goalie in these playoffs. And then the Stanley Cup Finals happened, and he struggled a little bit. And, he got pulled in the third period of that game 3. And then here comes Brandon Bussi, and the rest is history. But they're both Stanley Cup champions. It is what it is. Coach Rod Brind'Amour had to make a decision that what he thought was best for his team. And Brandon Bussi came in and he shined. When he was called up, he delivered. It was a great performance by Brandon Bussi. But yes, as a result, Carolina wins their second Stanley Cup final in franchise history. Their first one since 2006. Coach Rod Brindamore was the captain of that team as a player. But now he wins one as a head coach. And good for them. Like I said, all these years, he's been the head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes for 8 years now. Every single year they made it to the playoffs. They just could not get past the conference final. But they finally do this year, and they finally win the big one. Stanley Cup champions, the Carolina Hurricanes. Congrats to them. They deserve it. Like I said, the best Stanley Cup final I've watched. And, obviously you had those battles with Florida and Edmonton past couple years, back-to-back years. Florida winning back-to-back Stanley Cup championships back in 2025 and 24. But yeah, this one from the get-go, game one, just set the tone, and it was amazing. It was fun to watch. But now the sad part, no hockey till October. So all you hockey fans, you're stuck with baseball. You're stuck with baseball or golf or UFC. And speaking of the UFC, we have to talk about Sunday nights. Last Sunday night's UFC Freedom 250 fight card. The South Lawn of the White House. Yeah, I said that out loud without giggling, with a straight face. Yeah, I never thought this was going to happen. I thought it was complete BS when they first announced it. But Dana White finds a way. I don't know. It's crazy. But the event itself, that was actually pretty good. And it's the first fight card in UFC history where all the fights ended in knockout or TKO. All of them were finishes, but all of them were knockout TKO. First UFC fight card ever to do that. Crazy, right? On the White House lawn in Washington, D.C. You gotta love it. You can't make this up, man. It's unbelievable. But yeah, this event was amazing. Obviously, it was highlighted by Justin Gaethje's victory, his dominant victory against Ilia Topuria, and Gaethje finally, after 2 tries, or 3 tries rather, he finally becomes the undisputed lightweight champion. Obviously, he lost to Khabib the first time when he was fighting for the lightweight championship, and then he lost to Oliveira. So 3rd time's the charm, and he delivered, and he proved that he deserved to be champion on that night. He obliterated Topuria, and that was kind of crazy because the first 2 rounds, it could have been anyone's fight. The last 10 seconds of that first round, Topuria was landing some big shots on Gaethje, and they were landing too. That was the scary part. And then the second round happens, and Topuria dominates that round. So he definitely won the second round for sure. And then body shots. It was like shots out of a cannon, man. It was brutal. And I thought Justin Gaethje was done, man. He was wincing in pain. He was going down. But Justin Gaethje, that fighting spirit, man, that guy is a different animal. He's a machine. He's built different. Like, he's made of titanium. Because any other body shots delivered by Topuria on someone else, maybe like me, I'm probably in the hospital for a long time. But Justin Gaethje, man, he had one thing on his mind, and that was victory. He said to himself that he was finally going to become the UFC lightweight champion, and he did. And in rounds 3 and 4, man, he just dominated. And that's crazy because Ilia Topuria is one of the best strikers in the UFC. And Gaethje just obliterated him, destroyed him, outmuscled him. That jab and that right hand from Gaethje, man. Powerful, just destructive, causing so much damage that you couldn't even see Ilia Topuria's eyes. Major case of raccoon eyes for Ilia Topuria. It was brutal. It was a brutal fight. Topuria, I'll give it to him. He lasted four rounds. And then after the 4th round, he sat on his stool. His brother tried to get him back in the fight, and he said, no mas. No mas. No more. And I think that was a good call because I think Gaethje would have, probably ended him. But yeah, I'd never seen Ilia Topuria get that much damage. It was crazy. Great performance by Justin Gaethje. He went in there and did what he said he was going to do. He was going to mess up his face. He was going to win, and that's exactly what he did. So, total strikes for Justin Gaethje, 119 total strikes, 111 for Ilia Topuria. So these guys were slugging it out. Like I said, the first 2 rounds could have been anybody's fight. Could have belonged to anybody. But then Justin Gaethje those third and fourth rounds, man, I mean, he just destroyed. He destroyed Topuria. And even after the first round, you saw some redness in Topuria's face. It was like, oh, man, going to be a long night for Topuria. He's got to end it now. And that's another thing. You know, Justin Gaethje's been in wars. He's been in clashes before. He's been slugging it out for a very long time. Topuria, he usually ends his fights in the first or second round. So going to that third round, a little nervous, a little hesitant. Like, he's not used to this. He's not used to the hard-hitting style of Justin Gaethje. He's not used to going to wars like Justin Gaethje has. I mean, he's built a career on going to wars. I mean, we've seen him go toe-to-toe with Dustin the Diamond Poirier, Rafael Fiziev, Max Holloway. Even though he got knocked out, he still almost went the distance there. I mean, he's built a career on going into wars. Justin Gaethje has. Topuria was not. And then, you know, some things are happening in Ilia Topuria's personal life. Okay, you know, he comes out and says, no, I can't make any excuses. Had the best training camp of his life. So, I mean, maybe that wasn't a distraction, but maybe it was. I don't know. You know, I can't read into Ilia Topuria's mind. But regardless, he wasn't ready for Justin Gaethje, his style, you know, willing to go the extra distance. But Justin Gaethje, man, he's a different animal. That's why he's one of my favorite fighters, because every single time he's on the card, you know you're going to get a great fight. Look at earlier this year when he fought Paddy Pimblett. Best fight of the year. One of the best fights of the year so far. And that was a great way to start off 2026. Paddy Pimblett, that night, he gained my respect because he went 5 rounds with the hardest hitting 155-pounder in the UFC lightweight division. So, Justin Gaethje finally becomes the undisputed lightweight champion. Congrats to him. Big victory for him. I'm proud of you, man. Like I said, you're one of my favorite fighters. It's always fun watching him fight. Always brings it. Never gives up. He's a warrior. And then, yeah, Topuria, man. Gotta give it to him as well. I mean, heart of a lion. Was determined to finish the fight, but he just couldn't handle those punches anymore from Gaethje. Getting hit by him. It's not fun, because I've seen him mess up many fighters' faces. Paddy Pimblett being one of them, Dustin Poirier. I mean, just to name a few. So, but yeah, the third and fourth rounds, he got pummeled. The hard-hitting style of Justin Gaethje, and he wasn't ready to Poirier. He was not ready for that. So that was great. That was a great fight. Congrats to Justin Gaethje, and I hope Ilia Topuria has a speedy recovery. He's out for the rest of the year. There's no way. He broke both his orbital bones, so he's done for the rest of the year, and that's good. Maybe he needs the time off for sure. Well, definitely after this fight, he couldn't see. The guy couldn't see, man. It was brutal. Like I said, I wasn't expecting it, but I did have Gaethje winning. But me being the bonehead that I am, I didn't place the bet. Yeah, and I said numerous times, I'm kicking myself in the ass for not putting a bet on Justin Gaethje. But, you know, it is what it is. But congrats to Justin Gaethje. Finally, after 3 tries, you are the undisputed UFC lightweight champion. Great fight, great event. But now the question is, what is next for Justin Gaethje? Does he retire as champion? Does he give Topuria a rematch? I don't think that's going to happen. Does he fight someone else? There's been talkings about him and Poirier doing the trilogy fight. I don't know about that. But if he does retire, congrats. You deserve it, brother. You have nothing more to prove. You've been in so many wars, so many great fights, so many slugfests, that you winning the championship would be a perfect end to a textbook career. Perfect ending to a chapter of greatness, exciting fights, never say die attitude. I mean, you're the man, Justin Gaethje. So we'll see what happens with that. But then Topuria, what's next for him? Obviously, he's going to sit out for the rest of the year, recover. But does he get a chance to get the title back? I don't know. He took a beating and he quit. I mean, we got to remember that as well. But it was a good call by him. Like I said, I think Gaethje would have done a lot more damage. I mean, I don't know how much more damage he could have done. You know, major raccoon eyes on the face of Topuria. But, yeah, that was a brutal fight. But, yeah, Justin Gaethje finally, UFC Undisputed lightweight champion. So congrats to him. We got to talk about the co-main event too. Alex Pereira, Ciryl Gane. This is Pereira's debut at heavyweight. It did not go well, man. I mean, it was just, yeah, it was bad. It was a bad performance by Alex Pereira. He just didn't look like himself. He looked a little bloated. He looked a little timid. Like maybe, moving up to heavyweight probably wasn't the smartest idea. But you would think, okay, middleweight, 185. He dominated that division. Okay, let's move up to light heavyweight, 205. Okay, dominated that division. Okay, we got to move up to heavyweight. Well, now you're facing some big boys. And a lot of those big boys, they have strong hands. They can throw a punch and cause damage. And that's what Ciryl Gane did. But Alex Pereira, he was chasing greatness. He was chasing history. He was trying to become a champion in 3 different weight classes. And that would have been amazing if he did. But from the get-go, man, yeah, the game plan didn't work. The game plan worked for Ciryl Gane, but not for Alex Pereira. So Ciryl Gane had other plans, trying to ruin that history, and he did. He landed beautiful shots and that beautiful jab to stun and knock down Pereira. That was the beginning and the end. He had no answer for it. And then there was a lot of controversy with the illegal shots. Yeah, I saw a bunch of elbows in the back of the head. It wasn't called by Herb Dean. Yeah, that's unfortunate because, Ciryl Gane just got done with a fight last October with Tom Aspinall, who's the UFC Undisputed Heavyweight Champion. The eye pokes. So now you have that going on as well with the elbows and the illegal shots to the back of the head. Herb Dean's got to see that. You're the official. You're the referee. You got to see that, man. But even despite those illegal shots, I think Ciryl Gane would have destroyed Pereira. And regardless, and he did. I mean, it was just, I don't want to say it was unfair, but Ciryl Gane was ready to throw down, and I think Alex Pereira was not ready to face a beast like Ciryl Gane. I mean, you seen the guy? Guy's a freak athlete. He's built like a Greek god. That's scary. And you're getting punched and kicked and elbowed by him? Yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, so you had that going on, and Alex Pereira is actually appealing the finish of that fight. So we'll see the results of that. We'll see how that one goes. But, Ciryl Gane, victory. Probably going to fight Tom Aspinall if he recovers from his eye pokes. But yeah, great performance by Ciryl Gane. Another fight I didn't expect to go this way. I said it last time on Guys Time. I thought Alex Pereira was going to make history and beat Ciryl Gane. But no, Ciryl Gane had other plans, and he dominated Pereira. Like, dominated. Yeah. So yeah, that going on. Like I said, first UFC fight card. All the fights end in knockout TKO. Crazy stat of the day, right? I mentioned that in one of my videos. But yeah, you had Diego Lopez opening up this fight card. Another knockout victory for him. Sugar Sean O'Malley putting on a performance. In the third to last fight of that fight card, Derek Lewis, he needs to retire. He looked out of shape. He didn't look good at all. Michael Chandler needs to retire as well. But he was on this card. But yeah, man, for it being on the south lawn of the White House, it was actually a pretty damn good fight card. So I'm glad I watched it. Hopefully you fight fans out there watched it. But yeah, Justin Gaethje, my man, finally becomes the UFC Undisputed Lightweight Champion. We'll see what happens with that. But congrats to him. That was a good fight. But now we got UFC 329 lurking around the corner. A month away, July 11th, International Fight Week. Conor McGregor, the notorious Conor McGregor, makes his return. He's going up against Max Holloway. This is the second time they fought. They fought way back many years ago. 2013, August of 2013. Conor McGregor won that by unanimous decision. They were some young guys there. They're a little older now. McGregor's been out for 5 years. Max Holloway just got done getting manhandled by Charles Oliveira. So I'm curious who's going to be the underdog here. I don't know. Conor's been out for 5 years, like I said. And Max Holloway, he's trying to avenge that loss to Charles Oliveira. And what a great way to get a victory against the biggest star in UFC history on International Fight Week. What a great way to get back in the lightweight rankings, top 10 and maybe possible title shot. Maybe Gaethje defends against him. I don't know. So many scenarios there, but yes, we got that fight going on next July. That's gonna be an interesting one there. But yes, UFC Freedom 250. It was great. Justin Gaethje, congrats. You deserve it, man. You deserve to be champion, and he proved it. I mean, he obliterated Ilia Topuria. I was not expecting that. So now we got to hop over to NBA Finals. Yes, the New York Knicks finally, after 53 years, they win the NBA championship. Their first title since 1973. They win in 5 games. They won Game 4, 94-90. Another come from behind victory. Another comeback. I mean, what the hell's wrong with the Spurs, man? You're up by 29 in Game 3 and you blew that game. And then this game you were up by double digits and you blew that game too. So many chances for the Spurs. They deserve to lose. Congrats to the New York Knicks. Not so much to the fans and the people of New York, because, you know, you've seen what's going on there, right? Just destroying the city. You know, they're just idiots. They're morons. But the Knicks team, the actual team, the organization, congrats to them. First title in 53 years. That's beautiful, man. And then, like I said, yeah, Game 4, down by 29 late in the third quarter, and they come back and win that one, 107-106. So the Knicks and Jalen Brunson, they were not going to take a loss. They were never going to give up. Never say die attitude. We're in it to win it. Whatever you want to do, however you want to frame it. The Knicks were on a mission, and they won in 5 games. So congrats to them. 4-1 series win for the Knicks. Jalen Brunson, MVP. I mean, makes sense, right? 45 points in that Game 5. Good for him. Gets his first championship. Former Villanova Wildcat too, under Jay Wright. So yeah, he won a championship there, NCAA basketball championship there, and now he's won an NBA championship. So good for him. But yeah, the Spurs, a complete and utter collapse in back-to-back games. They had the lead in both of those games. So many chances to tie the series or get a victory. Maybe be down 3-2 instead of losing 4-1. I don't know, man. Spurs, you know, Victor Wembanyama says they still played good. I don't think so, man. I mean, you had multiple chances to win games that you needed to win. You absolutely needed to win. But the Knicks said, we're not losing to you. And they won. And then they won at home, or they won in San Antonio, rather. So that was actually kind of, you know, 1999, the Spurs won in New York 27 years ago, right? You know, a rematch from 1999. And then the Knicks, 27 years later, they win the championship against the Spurs in San Antonio. Couldn't write a better script than that, right? So yeah, their Knicks' first title in 53 years. Guys, 1973, that was the last time they won the NBA championship. The number 1 song of that year, Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree. That was the most popular song by Tony, Orlando, and Dawn. Yeah, that's how long it's been since the Knicks won the NBA championship. I wasn't even around back then. My parents were children when the Knicks last won an NBA championship. So good for the team, not so much for the fans in the city because they're idiots. And that's according to the Billboard year-end 100 Hot 100 singles. But yeah, so it's been a long time since the Knicks won the championship. But good for them. So congrats to the Knicks. NBA's over. Like I said, we got to settle for baseball and golf and UFC and boxing for a little bit, and tennis. And you got the World Cup too this year, 2026, every 4 years. So hopefully the United States makes a long run in the World Cup, FIFA World Cup. That'll be a very interesting storyline there. So congrats to the Knicks. We got in this episode talking about the Tigers. So the Tigers, I mean, I don't know. Saw today that they lost 5 out of their last 6 games. That's horrible, right? So instead of, I had it down from yesterday, 8-4 in the month of June. They're 8-5, but I mean that beats 6-22 in the month of May. I mean, God, this team was unwatchable last month. 6-22. They lost 8 series in that span. They got swept by the White Sox, who are in first place right now in the AL Central, and that's saying something because our division sucks. And then you got swept in 4 games against the Cleveland Guardians. These are your division rivals. You can't get swept by these guys, man. But yeah, that month of May was horrible. But June, I don't know, man. Like I said, 5 out of the 6 games you've lost. That's not good. They lost today against the Houston Astros. They dropped that series. They lose 2-1 against Houston. I mean, damn, man. I mean, this team's got to figure it out. I mean, what? Do we trade Scooble or what? I mean, Tyler Mizzy, maybe we got to get him on guys' time. You know, he's the ultimate Tigers fanatic. He knows everything about baseball. He knows everything about these Tigers. Maybe get him on here, get his input. But, yeah, you lose 2 out of 3 against the Houston Astros. Yeah, not a good sign. And then you come back home and you got to face these White Sox again. You know, you have a homestand where you have, it looks like, 4, 8? You got an 11-game homestand. You got to be 9-2 at least, especially since you dropped 5 out of the last 6 games. So, wake up, Tigers. Get your crap together. Let's win some games here. Let's, Friday. Let's win the first game of the homestand against the White Sox. You know, you got Scooble at the mound, our ace, for who knows how much longer, but he's here, and he's got to play well. And then our offense needs to come alive. So, I don't know, these Tigers. Do I pay $200 to watch these guys? Not really, man. I've watched bits and pieces of games. Can't sit there and watch a whole game, especially since this team's not the greatest. But like I said, let's just forget about May. May was god-awful. But now, going into Friday against the White Sox, we got to win. We got to start something. You got 11 games at home, 3 against the White Sox, 3 against the New York Yankees. So that's 6 games, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so 10 games at home. You got 3 against the White Sox starting this Friday. So this weekend. And then Monday, you got the New York Yankees. They're destroying everybody right now. They're kicking ass in the AL East, first place there. And then you got the Houston Astros for a 4-game series here. So 10 games, all at home. 1 against your division rival, 1 against a first place Yankees team, and then 1 against a decent team in the Houston Astros. Got to figure it out. Got to win Friday. Let's get a victory. Let's forget about today. Let's get ready for Friday. That's the Tigers. So with that, we are done. So thank you for joining me on this episode of Guys Time. You guys are amazing as usual. This episode is going to be available later tonight, for sure tomorrow, but I'm going to try tonight to get the audio version out. The video version on my YouTube channel, Guys Time with the Brides, I'll try to get that out tonight as well. You guys can view it anytime you want. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Guys Time with the Brides, and then the audio version, just type in Guys Time with the Brides. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Just search for Guys Time with the Brides, and this episode will be available for you guys. So thank you for joining me once again. Congrats to the New York Knicks winning their first championship in 53 years. Great victory there. Congrats to the Carolina Hurricanes on winning their first Stanley Cup in 20 years, only their second in franchise history. Congrats to Justin Gaethje for finally becoming the UFC Undisputed Lightweight Champion. Well-deserved. Whatever he does from here, congrats to him. He deserves it. And then Tigers, gotta wake up. Let's beat these White Sox this weekend. Let's start a good thing going on this 10-game homestand. And the FIFA World Cup. USA, 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 ladies and gentlemen. So with that, the Brides is out. You guys are amazing as usual. Let's kick ass the rest of the week. I appreciate you guys. All right, take care. Have fun. Thank you for joining me. Stay safe out there.